River Road, you got me running way back home. River Road, you got me running all night long. You got me singing some canal boat song. River Road, you got me running all night long.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Niner Nuts. I am Dan here along with James and Eric. Gentlemen, say hello. How are we doing?
What's up, Niner Nation?
What's going on, everyone?
Yes, today, guys, like I said yesterday, we talked a little bit about the leadership departures that we were having. Now we are taking what surely won't be our only look at the free agent market that we have coming up. I sent you guys both lists from Sports Track. One of them is a depth chart, and the other one is just a list of our outright free agents, not our contract year guys, but guys that we had that are like fully free agents right now. So we wanted to spend this half hour taking a look at who we would like to sign, who we're cool with leaving, just kind of a free flow, like just looking at this list and see what sticks out to us, which obviously the first name that really obviously sticks out to us and is going to stick out to everybody this offseason is Brandon Aiyuk. He is on his fifth-year option. He will be on his fifth-year option next year, but no one ever plays on their fifth-year option. This has the potential to get really ugly like it did with the Nick Bosa and the Debo and the well, no, Jimmy didn't hold out that long, did he? But this has the potential to go very, very long, just like Debo and Nick. So I'm pretty sure it's easy to say that John doesn't want that to happen. And it's also easy to say that Brandon does not want to play on his 1-year tag or his 1-year option, currently valued at 14 and change. So, I mean, do we just want to talk about Brandon for a minute before anyone else? Like, his name sticks out like a sore thumb. He's obviously going to be the center of our attention this whole offseason until he's signed or traded.
Yeah, that and Hufanga. I think Hufanga is in a contract year, so those are probably the two most important contracts to talk about, I would think.
I only think Hufanga is going to still play out his whole contract because he just tore his ACL, and I think we'll hold that against him to make this year a prove-it year for him. So I don't think he's going to go away, but obviously we need to keep track of how far into his rehab he'll be to see when he can get on the field, because he did tear it kind of late in the season, but you don't take a whole year for an ACL anymore, which is good. But yeah, that's why I think Brandon's going to be a bigger talking point because like I said, I think Hufanga, we're just going to hold that contract against him and make him prove it.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I think how much do you want to pay for a second wide receiver?
We're paying Debo $28 million already.
When you're paying Debo $28 million, Aiyuk, could be a number one on somebody's roster in the league. So how much do you want to spend on receivers? That's an interesting thing because, how many teams out there are spending, $56 million on two receivers, Yeah.
Eric, I know you have some strong thoughts about Debo and how the Brandon and Debo pairing, how that might hinder the roster if we manage to pay both of them what they're paid or what they're trying to ask for.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think, and to kind of James's point, there's not enough money to shove around to make it all fit, especially one more year down the road when Purdy is going to demand, $50 million a year if he continues to play well next season. We're going to just flatly be out of money. So I would personally like to pay Aiyuk, and I would personally like to see him stay on the team. I think out of the two receivers, he is the better route runner. I think he has the better hands. I think he's the more consistent receiver out of the two of them between him and Debo. So I would prefer to have him if I had to choose. I don't think you can trade Debo at $28 million. So I don't think anybody's going to take that on. So I think we're kind of stuck with Debo from that regard, which is not necessarily a bad thing. But I think that if you don't have somebody of Aiyuk's caliber opposite Debo and kind of make Debo your de facto number one receiver, I think you're going to run into problems because I don't really think Debo is a true number one receiver in the NFL. I think he's a very good 1B or a 2 or however you want to phrase it. But I think he's good because Aiyuk draws the best cornerbacks from the opposite team on every team. And I think that gives Debo an advantage going out there every week. I think if we don't have somebody of Aiyuk's caliber out there opposite him, I think we're ultimately going to be worse off. So I would pay Aiyuk. I'm not a cap wizard, though I'm going to be by the end of this week. Now that Dan has showed me I can sit here and play cap wizard with this website, and I have nothing but time this week to do this with. So very excited for that.
Kids with the mom this week.
Yeah. Kids are with the mom this week, so it's just gonna be and my wife's out of town, so it's just me and the salary cap.
You, the salary cap, pizza, wings, French dressing every night.
Yeah.
What a blessing.
Yeah. So, by the next time that we tape, there'll be like a beautiful mind, right? You'll see behind me, there'll just be nothing but numbers scrawled on the wall. And I'll be like, all right, guys, now what we need to do is we need to sign Aiyuk to 5 years and 3 void years. And it's going to be, it'll be all this nonsense. But I really think that we need to sign him and figure out a way to make it work. I was reading some articles today. They were talking about different ways that, guys can be restructured and candidates for restructuring so that we can get down under the salary cap. And it's not at all impossible to resign Aiyuk this season and give him an extension. And in fact, giving him an extension would lower his cap number this season if we were able to do that. So there's a lot of benefit to go around there. But I think bringing him back in is crucial to the 49ers success, especially if they really truly feel like they want to quote unquote run it back and try to get back to the Super Bowl. I don't think that you're going to be able to do that, bringing in somebody else, unless they're able to go out and get some sort of other top tier, wide receiver free agent and bring him in to replace Aiyuk. But I don't know why you would do that versus just paying Aiyuk instead, unless he simply didn't want to return, which, I mean, there is that element that's been out there and discussed a little bit. He's posted some stuff on social media. His people that are close to him have posted some stuff on social media to kind of make the inclination that maybe he's not happy here in San Francisco anymore. So I don't really know, but if it were me, I would pay him. I would bring him back. I would figure out a way to do it, even if it was just for 1 or 2 seasons. And then I know I've got to trade him away because I don't have the cap space to keep him or Debo around. It is what it is.
Yeah. Trading Debo is going to be impossible right now. His money's too much. John's got too much pride and respect for him to lowball trade him. There'd be such a riot. I just like Debo as a player, and I know what it meant to him to become a captain this year. Just like those little things like that. Like there's no. If John really thinks that he has to trade him, like I don't think it would work, because I don't think anybody would trade a first or a king's ransom for him, especially with that cap hit. So not
unless the Niners took all the money. It'd be the only way to get a number 1 draft.
Yeah, and then that doesn't help us. So I mean, there's no point. So
exactly.
Now you could probably could you get a 1 and a 5 or a 1 and a 6 for Aiyuk? Maybe.
I don't know if you're getting a 1.
He's worth at least a 1, or a Christian McCaffrey package of like a 2, 3, 4, a 6, and then a 3 next year. Like it's got to be super lopsided like that if it's not a 1.
Yeah, I mean, I looked at the free agent class that's out in the market for wide receivers, and the only real big name that's out there is T. Higgins. And
Michael Pittman, some disrespect. Put some respect on Pittman's name.
What? I didn't see his name. So, I mean, there's going to be a market for wide receivers, and you might as well take advantage of it. Is somebody going to pay a 1? Like you said, Dan, I think it might be more of a package of a 1.
It has to be a CMC package if it's not including a 1.
Yeah, or maybe a 2nd, a 5th, and a player, something like that too could be it. So, I mean, I think Aiyuk is, I don't know. I don't think Aiyuk's going to be on the team next year. That's with this situation because he most likely believes he's a number one wide receiver, which means he wants to be paid that way, and there is not enough cap room, nor do I think, like I said, John wants to commit, $58 million a year to two wide receivers.
So
It's
here's
going to
the
be really hard. It's going to be really hard too.
Sorry, Dan, go ahead.
I was just saying it's going to be really, really hard too. Like we thought this year was going to be essentially like the do or die year. Fortunately, we were able to make some money move, but how many more restructures can we do? It was amazing we did the restructures that we did now. So are we just going to keep kicking more money down the line? Like,
well,
how far is John willing to make 25, 26, and 27 even? Like, I mean, if we get the ring, cool, but like, you gotta, I don't know. We're heading to an implosion that we're lucky isn't right now, but come next year, it could be truly inevitable.
Well, here's the interesting aspect of that, and this is, when I get done playing Capologist for the week, we'll be able to understand this a little bit more. But Debo's contract only really goes through 2025. His 26 and 27 years are void years, so they aren't real contract years. So his contracts,
he's getting paid though.
Well, yeah, but they're not real years. So. And it's only 10 million across those 2 years, 26 and 27. So is there a world in which you pay Aiyuk, whatever it is this year, if you extend him, so maybe you end up paying him not a lot this year, but then maybe next year when Purdy still is going to be on a rookie contract next year, you pay him a big amount of money, and then you can still pay him big money in 26 and 27. And you let Debo either walk or come back at a much lower rate than what you paid him last time.
I mean, in theory, my understanding on those void years is that those are just like dead cap. Like you're just kicking dead cap down the line to that way. Like, am I not understanding how dead money works or void years work?
Yeah, you are. I mean, they're void years, but I mean, they're not real contract years then. So I mean, like he's not under contract those years. So we're going to be sitting in the same chair next year talking about what are we going to do with Debo because he's going to be on the last year of his deal.
Yeah, right. Even though he's still getting paid. No, the contractual roster spot. No, that does disappear. Okay, so no, we're all on the same page.
So I mean, like you could structure Aiyuk's contract in a way where he doesn't make a ton of money in 24. He makes a decent amount of money in 25 because Purdy's still on his rookie deal. And then in 26, 27, you pay him, big time receiver money.
That's what we did with Kittle because Kittle's cap hit, Kittle's cap hit has been 5 or 5.8, 5.4, 7.3, 9.5 this year. Now, this year's cap hit is 21, and then next year's 19, but he has 2 void years, a 6 and a 2. I could easily see him taking a cap, doing another restructure. I thought he had like 4 void years already, but but no, I mean, that's got to be the way we do it is if we convince the players to do it again, like, because I know this isn't Kittle's first restructure. This wouldn't be Williams's first restructure,
right?
Which was actually last year because he didn't restructure his first year with us. But no, it's just got to be getting these guys to be willing to add another void year. Ward added a void year last year. Can we get him to do another one? Like, because that's just kicking money down the line without the guarantee of it's just making dead cap that we have to worry about later. So if we can convince the team, like, yeah, you're not getting that much money more up front, and we're betting on ourselves. Like, if they can buy into that message, that's the only way that can work. Which I think we can. I think our locker room loves each other, but that's just the way it's got to. That's the way it's got to happen. He's got to create this cap space because we're locked into so many people.
Yeah, I mean, I guess what it boils down to it is if they want to bring Aiyuk back and Aiyuk is interested in coming back, he can come back. We're not in some sort of situation where it's just, completely mathematically impossible and there's no way that it can get done, or we have to trade away the world to like make it happen or anything like that. If we want to have him come back and he truly wants to be a part of this team, there's ways to make it so that he can come back and he can be a part of this team and not devastate our cap entirely. It'll have to be, there'll have to be some gymnastics done on the cap to make it work, but we can make it happen. There's room for Aiyuk to come back, and I'm going to stand by the fact that they should bring him back. James, I don't necessarily think that you're wrong. I think it's probably 60-40. 60 being that he comes back, 40 that he doesn't. But I see a world in which he doesn't come back. I think the 49ers are going to really suffer if he doesn't. And my mom will be very sad. That's her favorite player.
I've mentally prepared for the worst, just assuming he's going to be gone. But yeah, no, I mean, I believe John, because John said the same thing you did. Like, there's a way for us to happen, but you could write that off to GM speech. But I mean, with the magic he's worked, I believe him. I'm terrified of. I know I shouldn't be terrified like way down the road, but no, we do have some math wizards, and we're not going to be in like true hell yet until maybe 25 or 26, even at like best case scenario. So I don't know. It's up to Brandon. I didn't think we were going to be. I've personally not thought we would be in a position to get him, but if we can, I mean, of course I'm going to welcome him. We're a better team with him because yeah, he is the number 1 to Debo's 1B, or dare I say the best number 2 in the league.
Yeah. So you're saying, Eric, your mom would feel the same way about Aiyuk leaving the Niners as she does when I'm not on the show?
Yes. You are her favorite part of the podcast.
Thank you, Eric's mom. I always knew it. I knew it.
Oh my gosh. You're everyone. You're favorite in mine.
Yeah. So do we want to talk about the potential other hole in the receiver room then in terms of Juwan Jennings?
That literally was going to be who I think we need to address next, especially because he's a restricted free agent, not just an outright free agent.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if we didn't bring back Aiyuk and we didn't bring back Jennings, that creates just a whole set of, I think, bad possibilities for the Niners this season. I don't think you can lose both of those guys and what they contribute across the board in terms of receiving. I mean, Jennings doesn't put up a bunch of flashy numbers and doesn't put up big stats, but, he comes through in the clutch. He's got a knack for making plays, and my God, can that guy block. And I mean, it's not often that you really praise a guy for blocking, but in our offense, that's what you need. You need guys that are going to run out there and they're going to be part of the game and never give up on a play and always be playing until, and sometimes quite beyond the whistle. And that's what he does. And he brings a fire and an energy to the team. And if we don't have Aiyuk, who plays hard and plays the same way, and we don't have Jennings out there, this team has a different look and a different feel to it. And I don't think that it's going to be remotely successful. So as much as I want to see Aiyuk come back, I want to see Jennings come back too. I think he's a very important and a very vital cog. The whole restricted free agency thing gets way more complicated to understand and figure out in terms of whether he'll be back or not. I think the 49ers will try to bring him back. I think they can pay him a reasonable amount and put him on a reasonable offer sheet to get him back. I don't think he's going to command a big market out there. Like I said, he just doesn't put up big enough numbers. I'm going to go look up his stats while we're sitting here talking. I don't even know what his season stats were.
He had it was like 1 touchdown and 300 yards or something like that.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, I just don't think that when teams are looking for receivers, like he's going to really be out there as someone that they're really going to be looking and eyeballing and trying to get. Yeah. I mean, so for the regular season, he only had 19. He had 19 catches for 265 yards and a touchdown. So, I mean, like,
but 17 of them were on 3rd down, and he converted the 1st
down. Yeah, this is true. So, I mean, like, he fits great in our scheme, and he does well for what we ask and what we want him to do. And I really feel like if anybody is truly a product of Kyle's system, like everybody tries to peg Purdy as being a product of Kyle's system, I think Juwan is a product of Kyle's system, and I think he fits perfectly for that. I think if you try and take him and put him on somebody else's team, I don't think he's going to really excel, and I think that it's going to be a loss for them. So I see him coming back probably like what did he make last year?
Literally like $1 million.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, I don't know, pay the dude like 2.5 and he'll probably be thrilled.
I just know from
yeah.
experience watching the Eagles win a Super Bowl in 2017 that bringing everybody back is not the way to go. You know, even if you do climb the top of the mountain, and I'm telling you, the Eagles brought everybody back. It didn't work the second year in a row to repeat. And so it'll be interesting to see how John and Kyle look ahead with this team and see where they can get better. Where they'll need to say, well, we can get another guy like that in the draft and, you know, work on bringing these guys back. So I just don't think that when it comes to the wide receiver room, you know, everybody's going to be back. You know, when it comes to those three, we know you won't trade Debo. You know, I mean, they got Aiyuk in the draft. They got Juwan Jennings in the draft, right? They got Jennings in the draft. So, I mean, they're gonna have to make some tough decisions, and they're gonna have to replenish in the draft. And you know, either it's trading Aiyuk and getting picks so they can draft a wide receiver, or if they do, like you said, Eric, sign Aiyuk. I don't see longevity with this receiver room going past even this year, but who knows? Yeah.
Well, luckily we're only going to lose Jennings if we get outbid for him. Like that's the way we're going to lose him. That's the way that's an oversimplified way of the restricting tag works. But so I'm not worried about us being able to afford him, because really, if someone wants to, I don't think we're going to give him the first round tender. The first round tender is like $6.5 million, something like that.
No.
No. So someone's got to be. So if somebody is willing to if someone is willing to pay him $6 million and outbid us to that degree, then word. I mean, you're paying him earmuffs a shitload more money than we're going to be willing to, because we've been paying him $1 million or less for the last like 3-4 years. So
we'll give him a 1-year deal worth a $1.5-2 million, and he'll either take it or he won't. I mean, that'll be the end result of it. I mean, the only thing that
like the
scares
third
me,
round tender. Yeah.
The only thing that scares me, James, to your philosophy is like we've been really terrible at picking wide receivers in those kind of like mid to later rounds of the draft. Like, yes, we hit on Aiyuk.
Aiyuk was a first.
Yeah, but the rest of the receivers that we've picked have been absolute trash. We had the one guy who was on IR, Jalen Hurd, was on IR for like 3 straight seasons. He was terrible. We got Danny Gray now, who can't get off the bench and can't get off of IR. We got Ronnie Bell, who looks like he's got butter for hands. So, I mean, like...
he's a first year, though. Let's not write him off just yet.
Well, okay, but he's got to do a lot better job of catching the ball. He's a receiver. He's done nothing in his entire life for the last like 8 years of his life other than catch a football. And when he got to the NFL, he wasn't very good at it. So I'm going to judge him a little harshly. So
I mean,
I get it.
I get it. But there was one good Nelson Aguilar year in Philadelphia where he caught everything. And so, I mean,
he just re-signed with the Ravens, by the way.
Yeah, it's amazing that he's not in Philadelphia, and he had one good season in Philadelphia, and now he's not in Philadelphia, and like, you know, he's not dropping passes, I guess, as much. Nobody's calling for his head.
No, he was terrible for the Ravens last year. Terrible. Yeah, he was terrible.
Well, Baltimore doesn't throw the ball that often, so that didn't help the cause.
Yeah. But, I mean, you never know. Ronnie Bell could get it together, at least for one season.
I guess, sure.
He could. I think this is a good segue. You talking about...
Nelson, just for reference, Nelson Aguilar had 35 receptions, 381 yards, and 4 touchdowns.
Oh, so you could replace him. You could place, you know, Jennings with him.
That's a lot. That's a lot of touchdowns for that few catches.
Well, I guess, sure, but I mean, it's not very good still.
No, when you tell me someone only had 35 catches, I would have thought like he maybe didn't even catch a touchdown. Like just proportionally
Yeah, it's
more
like
than
one
a
every
touchdown.
9 catches. Yeah,
That proportionally, that's not terrible.
no, but it's probably not sustainable.
Well, that's true.
Yeah, but are Ravens fans, like making fun of him in the news when they rescue children from burning buildings? like he probably flies low under the radar in Baltimore. Like,
I like
Philly fans are the best.
I just seeing what the time is. I do want to use before we run out of time. I want to use a segue that James was talking about, the sustainability aspect, and like you don't bring everybody back. I can understand where that philosophy comes from because you've lived it, but we're probably gonna have to do that because if you take a look at that free agency list, like the straight up free agency list, look how many of them are DE or DT. Everyone except Bosa, Hargrave, and Armstead are free agents. Except Drake Jackson. Everybody except those 4 names are free agents. Randy Gregory and Chase Young and Javon Kinlaw, who we're definitely not bringing back. Sebastian Joseph Day, Ceylon Farrell, Kevin Givens.
But a lot of those guys were on 1-year deals to start with anyway. So I'm not really surprised that they're free agents again. We just kind of brought them in on these 1-year like little deals to play these. They're just role players, right? They're just cogs in the wheel to fit around Armstead and Bosa. They're placeholders essentially in my world. I mean, do we want to talk about whether we're going to bring Chase Young back or not? I mean, I think that's probably the big nugget,
Nope.
whether or not he's going to come back or not.
He's not. No way. I don't see how we can pay Brandon, and then unless he's willing to take a 1-year $10 million prove it deal, like I don't see us getting Chase. I think he's gonna command a multi-year, like unless he really thinks that unless he tells his agent like, no, I think I deserve this much money. Like I think he's going to be money chasing, and somebody's going to be willing to pay him an extension. That's the short version of what I'm trying to say. I don't think we're going to get him back.
I don't know. Like you look at the story of Chase Young, he's sort of underperformed for where he was selected. I mean, last year he had his best year and he only had 7.5 sacks. So I don't know if somebody's going to go out there and pay what. I mean, how much is Bosa getting paid? Because there's
$8 billion.
Bosa's making like 35 a year.
35 years. So, someone like him, if he wants top dollar, is going to need to take a 1-year prove it deal, and, if John wants does he want to pay $10 million for a 3rd round pick next year, or does he want the 3rd round pick this year? And, I think they could get Chase Young on a 1-year prove it deal. And then, they won't sign him if he does really, really well and gets double-digit sacks in this year. But at least you have a double-digit year sack guy from Chase Young. Chase Young is like 25 years old. Like,
yeah.
So
let me rephrase. I don't see us offering him an extension that he thinks will be worthwhile. So I feel like that his agent's going to tell him the same thing. I don't know how somebody will, because I'm pessimistic. I think somebody will offer him a multi-year deal, but I do think realistically he's going to have to do a prove it deal. I'm not convinced it's going to be with us.
I mean, there seems to be a sucker born every minute. I just looked up his stats. He's woefully underwhelming for where he was drafted and all the hype and everything that he gets. He has
2nd overall, right?
He has 16.5 total sacks for his career.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Well, he missed 1 year for a really bad knee injury.
Well,
Yeah,
okay. So did Bosa.
Yeah. But I
So
mean, like I said,
fair.
last year was his best year, and he had 7.5 sacks.
No, he had 2.5 sacks last year with us. That's it.
Yeah, but he had 5 with the Commanders, I think.
Oh yeah.
He meant the Commanders in 22.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, 7.5 sacks from a second overall pick in his, in his 5th year, So
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't see him commanding top dollar on the market in any way, shape, or form. And he's terrible against the run. He doesn't
That is true.
he doesn't tackle anyone. His rookie season was a pretty darn good season. He had 44 total tackles, 32 solo tackles, 7.5 sacks, 4 forced fumbles. I mean, that's a pretty darn good season, right? But ever since then, I mean, he had 17 tackles this season. That's it. 17 tackles. I mean, that's a tackle a game.
7.5.
Well, okay, let me ask this question.
That's a tackle a game. That's ridiculous.
Is that Is that even worth a 1-year, $10 million deal? Like, do we think he did enough?
No, I would sign him to like a 2-year, $12 million deal, and I would backload it. I would give him about like 4 or 5 million guaranteed, and I would make the rest of it incentive based. Whereas if he hits, 8 sacks, I'll pay him an extra $1 million. He hits 12 sacks, pay him an extra $2 million, whatever, something like that. And then give him a bunch of money in year 2 that's non-guaranteed or something like that.
So like a 2-year, $12 million that can be worth up to 18.
Yeah, something like that. If he hits a bunch of ridiculous incentives, then by golly, all means, I'm a big believer in paying for production. So, I mean, if he's going to come in and post up 12 or 14 sacks, then by all means, I'll pay him an extra $2 or $3 million. I don't have a problem with that because I'm getting the production for it. But out the gate, I'm going to pay him about 4 or 5 million guaranteed. Fine, here's your 4 or 5 million. Walk on the field, and after that, everything else you're going to earn on the field playing. And then year 2's not going to be guaranteed at all. And if we keep you in year 2, you get the extra 8 million on the contract or whatever. It can guarantee the third day of the league year or whatever it is, some crazy stipulation like that. But I'm not paying him a bunch of money to come back and play. He's that Drake Jackson kid can come in and hopefully do better. I mean, he's shown flashes of brilliance but he's gotten buried in the doghouse for whatever reason.
Well, he was in the doghouse and then he had knee surgery. So yes and yes. What about Ceylon Farrell, or what about Randy Gregory? Like, maybe we're going to get outpriced for Randy Gregory, but
I don't know.
no, those guys were really productive too.
Randy Gregory has proven that he'll pay taxes just so he could smoke weed. Like, I think he doesn't. If he's going anywhere, he's going to where it's recreationally legal. That's guaranteed.
We went from Denver to San Francisco. I mean, there you go.
I mean, he literally did not sign with the Cowboys because they put a stipulation about smoking weed in his contract. So he goes to Denver so he can pay taxes to smoke weed.
He's not going back to Denver, so I guess. Well, I don't know. Maybe New England. Isn't it recreational in New England?
Yeah,
I mean, again. So Randy Gregory, 12 games with us. He had 11 total tackles, 2.5 sacks. I'm not paying a lot of money for that. I mean, if you look back at his entire career, he's been in the league 7 years at this point. What? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
Gregory
7.
at least passed the eye test better than Chase Young did.
He's been in the league 7 years. He's got 22 sacks. I'm not paying a guy a bunch of money for 22 sacks over 7 years. He had 10 tackles. He doesn't even have a tackle a game. So, I mean, like, he might have looked better, I guess, and maybe he was setting the edge better than Chase Young did, but his numbers didn't show it. So, I mean, I'm not paying either one of those guys a bunch of money. If they want to come back on 1-year prove-it deals and with an opportunity, I mean, like, let's look at it from the chance of where are you going to have a great chance to get a ring and where are you going to have a great chance for success. You're going to have those things with the 49ers, right? You're one of the top 4 teams in the NFC. You're playing on probably the best defensive line in in the NFC, maybe one or two others. Maybe the Eagles' defensive line is also very good. You're not many other opportunities where you're going to have the best chance of success. So if you want to come back here and play on a prove it deal for a little bit of money and try to rack up some stats and actually show people that you can be a good player, then come here and come do it. If you don't want to, then fine, be gone. Oh, I don't need your 6 sacks. Go away.
Well, let's be fair though, Eric. We talked about how Steve Wilkes didn't do anything up front, which limited the numbers. So if they could come back on prove it deals, like you said,
yeah,
and they could use
Steve
that.
Wilkes playing 4D checkers, like he knew he was going to get fired, but it was going to save the team money in the long run for an underperforming D line. There we go.
I mean, but if you can't get more than 2 sacks playing opposite of Bosa, Hargrave, and Armstead, what are you doing? I mean, like, come on. Like,
that's how uncreative that line scheme was, though.
Well, I don't disagree with that, but I'm just saying, I'm not paying those guys a bunch of money to have them come back. I feel like you could plug anybody into that 4th spot along Bosa, Armstead, and Hargrave. You could plug anybody in that's at least mildly competent as an NFL player, and they're going to get you 10 tackles and 2 sacks. I just feel like
you said mildly competent because I was about to say, you do it then, Eric.
I am a 47-year-old fat guy. I cannot do that. I would love to try, but I cannot do that. But I think if you take anyone with any sort of I mean, I think you could take any sort of defensive end from any team that has any mild competency, and you plug him into that lineup, and he's going to give you 10 tackles and 2.5 sacks. I don't think you need to overpay for that. I think you can get that for $2 million. If you want to pay $4 million because it's Chase Young and you want to lock in some potential there that he's supposed to have, I'm fine with that. If you want to pay Randy Gregory, you want to pay him $3 million, I guess, because he's supposed to have potential that he's never ever realized because all he wants to do is sit around and smoke weed, then fine, I guess. For all intents and purposes, he seemed to fit in the locker room and seemed to be a good guy. So I'm all for bringing back guys that were good fits with the team. At least I'm a big believer in paying a premium for people that are good for your organization. So I guess I would bring him back in that regard. But if either of those guys wants to throw any bit of a fuss about coming back on a prove it deal, they can just go away. I don't really care. Yeah.
I think with that though, then we can't push an hour. We're trying. I know we can, but trying to keep.
Well, there were a number of other guys that we didn't even talk about.
That's why this is part one. This is why this is part 1. Yeah, no, I heard you, James, that we didn't even talk about Sam Darnold being a free agent. But no, we got to save this for a part 2. We got 7 months? Like we have time.
We do need to come up with a lot of content for the next few weeks. So if we want to have a part 2 and 3 of the free agency special, I guess we can.
Oh, this was just
every 2 weeks, Eric.
This is part 1, defensive ends and wide receivers. Like, well, that's what we'll call this episode because I didn't actually get a title for this episode as of this taping.
There you go. Well, no, wait, what's our clickbait title for this one?
Randy Gregory will smoke weed.
Randy Gregory, Brandon Aiyuk, and Chase Young are all coming back or something. I don't know.
Yes. Oh man. Yes. That's. Randy Gregory likes weed wouldn't be clickbait because we all knew that. Oh my gosh. Before I break you guys, I'm going to pull up our sponsor, Royal Retros. What is Royal Retros? It is your go-to place to get an authentic throwback jersey. They cover all the sports, basketball, baseball, football, and European football. But for the 49ers fans listening, go check out the Candlestick collection. It is curated with the Bay Area in mind. When you find something that you like, use promo code Shady Sports to get 10% off your entire order. Again, it is promo code Shady Sports to get 10% off your order at royalretros.com. It helps us out. It helps Sam and Shady Sports Network out. Go to royalretros.com and find yourself an authentic throwback jersey today. Ooh, if you guys have collected your breaths, James, let the people know how things are going with our charity we've been doing.
So, guys, in the recent news over the past year, we've had owners behaving badly, the NFL knowing about it. Specifically, the one heinous case was the Houston Texans owners being charged with some very serious sexual crimes in Kentucky. And the NFL knew about it for months, didn't report about it, but we know if this had been a player, we would have known about it while there was an investigation going on. So with that being said, the NFL has said owner standards are supposed to be greater than player standards, but actually it's reverse. Owner standards are less than player standards. And so we're trying to bring awareness to this. And to show you we put our money where our mouth is, we are selling t-shirts, our own t-shirts for charity, going to Mountain Comprehensive Care Center in Kentucky. So right now we have owner standards less than player standards, hashtag owner accountability. That's the statement we're trying to make. You can get that in different colors, different sizes. $22.99 gets you that in the t-shirt. Next up, we have our podcast logo art. You'll find this on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Music, wherever you see our profile. You will find this. You can get it on a t-shirt, $22.99. Get you that in a t-shirt. And we have different styles, different sizes as well. Next up, we have our alternate logo. Put that. I have this shirt. Very nice quality. $22.99 gets you that, but we have different colors, different styles as well with that. And then finally, our mascot. How can you say no to a peanut eating peanuts while cheering for San Francisco 49ers? $22.99 gets you in that t-shirt. Donate to this great cause today. Get a cool t-shirt. All the proceeds go to charity. Bonfire.com, Niner Nuts Apparel.
Yeah, that link again is in the episode description, wherever you're watching or listening. Yeah, go ahead and get yourself a t-shirt and help out a family in need. The little news blurb to close out the episode. I mentioned it yesterday, but I'll mention it again, that Jim Irsay finally tweeted that he's doing okay. He's been in the hospital for a while, so just continue sending well wishes to him. Questions about how he runs the Colts aside, I never wish anything to happen to an owner like what's been going on with Jim Irsay. So I do wish him the best and hope he gets out of the hospital soon. And I didn't say this yesterday, but continued thoughts to Kansas City as well. Eric, James and I addressed it last week, but yeah, just continued thoughts to Kansas City as well, just with that tragedy at the parade.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I could go on for hours about the ridiculousness of shootings in our country, but I'll just leave that alone and just say that I wish everybody well in those scenarios.
Yeah, me too. Don't want anything bad to happen to Jim Irsay, and definitely Kansas City. Our hearts are with you. Let us know if you need anything. Anything else from you guys?
I got nothing. Send us out.
Outro music, River Road, Justin Muth.
Catch you on Friday, guys.
River Road, you got me running way back home. River Road, you got me running all night long. You got me singing some canal boat song. River Road, you got me running all night long. River Road, where have all the women gone? Have they kissed her hand and waved you bye-bye? Have they thought about crossing your double yellow lines? River Road, they love the way you whine and cry.